Hello class, it's Ms. Meyer. We're going to go ahead and start our last section in chapter 2, section 2.7, graphing linear inequalities and absolute value equations and inequalities. So your objective or learning target for today is to be able to graph two variable inequalities and absolute value equations and inequalities. So we just need to refresh how to graph linear inequalities. Okay. Inequalities can be graphed in similar ways as linear equations and absolute value equations. Okay, so you're going to do it exactly like you would do a linear equation and absolute value. The only difference is that you're going to be shading. Okay, so the equation serves as a boundary to the area represented in the inequality. So some things to remember: if it's a less than or a greater than, it's going to require a dash, or you could say dotted line. Okay, kind of like how we use open circle. Then if I have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, that is going to require a solid line, like we use a closed circle for our inequalities, but now we're doing linear inequalities. So our first example, you need to graph 2x plus 3y is greater than 6. So right away, this greater than, there is no equal, so I know it's going to be dashed. Something to keep note of. And then I also like to go ahead and put it into slope-intercept form. So it's when 3y is greater than negative 2x plus 6. And then I go ahead and divide everything by 3. So it's y is greater than negative 2/3 x plus 2. Okay. Then we need to identify our intercepts and slope in order to graph. So we would first find our x-intercept. So remember, that is when you set y equal to 0. So I have 0. You can just set it equal. I would subtract 2. And then I would multiply by negative 3/2. Well, the negatives will make it a positive, and 2/2 simplifies to 1. So 3 is equal to x. So my x-intercept is 3. Then we go ahead and find our y-intercept. This is in slope-intercept form, so my y-intercept is 2. And then lastly, identify my slope. My slope is negative 3/2. Or sorry, negative 2/3. Negative 2/3. So I go ahead then and I plot my points. So I have my x-intercept is 3, so it's the point 3, 0. And then my y-intercept is 2, so 0, 2. And then I have a slope of negative 2/3. And you could check going down 2 to the right 3. If I wanted to do another point, I could go up 2 to the left 3. Okay. Then, since it is not an equal to, okay, it's greater than, I'm going to go ahead and put a dashed line. Okay, that shows that the solutions are not included on that line. Then I need to go ahead and shade because it says y is greater than. So if it's greater than, you're going to shade above the line. If it is less than, you're going to shade below the line. If you forget, a good point to check is 0, 0. So check the point 0, 0. So that means plug it into the original. Okay, I would have 2 times 0 plus 3 times 0. Is that greater than 6? Well, that just gives me 0. Is 0 greater than 6? That is a false statement. So you do not want to shade the point 0, 0. And we did not, so my solution is correct there. Okay. I would like for you to go ahead and graph number 2 on your own. And then where it says don't forget to test a point, that was like how we just tested the point 0, 0 before. So go ahead and do example 2. Here is the solution for number 2, so make sure you go ahead and look it over. It should be dashed, and it says y is greater than 1/2 x plus 2, so you should be shading above. And then if you go ahead and check the point 0, 0, you should see that you should not be shading there. If you have any questions more on this, we can go ahead and answer them tomorrow in class. Example 3, Manny has $15 to spend at the fair. It costs him $5 for admissions, 75 cents for each ride ticket, and 25 cents for each game ticket. Write an inequality for the number of ride and game tickets he can buy. So we have two variables. Let's just go ahead. X will be our ride tickets, and Y will be our game tickets. And notice how it says write an inequality. So he has $15 to spend. So we know that 15 is his max. And so whatever we come up with over on the right-hand side, that has to be less than or equal to $15. So it costs $15 for admission, or sorry, $5 for admission. So he has to pay $5 no matter what, plus 75 cents for each ride ticket. Well, ride is my X, so 0.75X, plus 25 cents for each game ticket, so plus 0.25Y. So there's our inequality, but it looks a little messy, so let's go ahead and put it into slope-intercept form. Okay, so first thing that I would do is I would subtract y to the other side, so I'd have negative 0.25y is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to subtract this 15 to this side, so 5 minus 15 gives me negative 10. Negative 10 plus 0.75x. And then from this point, I need to go ahead and I need to divide everything by negative 0.25. Now, one thing to remember is that whenever you divide by a negative, your inequality sign flips. Okay, so this is going to give us 40, sorry, there's a negative here, and minus 3x. Okay, I'm just going to write it in slope-intercept. So y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 40. So there is our inequality. Then, if we go ahead and look at the next part, it says if he buys 10 game tickets, how many ride tickets will he be able to buy? So we just go ahead and plug in 10 for the game tickets. So remember, 10 game is your y. So we have 10 is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 40. Subtract 40, so I have negative 30. And when we divide, remember our inequality sign needs to flip. So this is saying x has to be less than or equal to 10. So he can buy no more than 10 game tickets. No, sorry, how many ride tickets? No more than 10 ride tickets. Okay, then it says, what is the maximum number of ride tickets he can buy? Well, to buy the max number of ride tickets, that means he's going to buy 0 game tickets. So it's when his game tickets is 0. So I plug in 0 for y. Once again, I subtract 40 to the other side, so I have negative 40 less than or equal to negative 3x. And then if I divide by negative 3, my inequality signs flip. Negative 40 divided by negative 3 will give me a positive 13.3 repeating is greater than or equal to x. So x is less than or equal to 13.3 repeating. Well, if x has to be less than that, the max he can buy is 13 whole tickets. So no more than 13 ride tickets. Okay. I would like you to go ahead and pause the video, and I would like you to do the next question on your own. If you go ahead and you do that last problem, it's when you buy 0 ride tickets, and so you should get that there should be no more than 40 game tickets. So absolute value function shifts. We talked about this briefly in one of our previous videos for section 2.6, but just to remember, absolute value looks like a V, and this is the vertex, and it always starts out at 0, 0. But sometimes we go ahead and we move it left, right, and then we make it skinnier or wider. So in general, this is what it looks like, and it's just the equation y equals the absolute value of x. Okay. So it says what's inside the absolute value with x shifts it to the left or right. So what's on the inside shifts it left or right. So to figure out what the x value of the vertex is, you can set it equal to 0 and solve for x. This will give you the x coordinate of the vertex. Then the number on the outside is what is being added or subtracted, moves the vertex up or down. Okay, so this will just, as is, gives you the y coordinate of the vertex. So example says find the vertex of the graph of the equation. So take the inside, set it equal to 0, -5. So that means my x coordinate is -5. And then your y coordinate is just as is, so 7. Looks just like it is. So what this means is the inside tells me we went left 5, and I just always think, oh, it's the opposite on the inside, and we went up 7. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at an example. So what I like to do is just figure out what the vertex is to begin with. So this +1, it's always opposite of what I think. So it's really meaning that I was shifted to, it looks like right, but really it was left 1. And this -2 means we went down 2. So that means my vertex is -1, 2. So what I recommend before you go ahead and graph is make a table and make -1 the middle point. So always do 3 below it and 3 above it. So 3 below and 3 above. Okay, and then you just plug it in and get your values. So you plug in -1, -1 plus 1 is 0. The absolute value of 0 is 0. So 0 minus 2 is -2. Okay. Then I go ahead and I plug in negative, I don't know why I wrote -1. Should have been -4. So I know my -1 answer is -2. Let me just fix this here. And then go ahead, if I do -4, sorry, -4 plus 1 is -3. The absolute value of -3 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. -3, -3 plus 1 gives me -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, and you go ahead and you fill in all of this table. And then you go ahead and you plot all the points. So -4. And once you do that, you see that you have your V shape. And you should see that your vertex, it came from the point 0, 0. Was it shifted to the left 1? Yes. And was it shifted down 2? It was. So that is the proper graph of that absolute value function. I would like for you guys to do example 5 on your own. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and stop the video there, and we will do example 6 together in class. So only please do example 5. Have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.